If I may, I was in Moscow in 2015. I was invited to speak at a Russia Today conference, and I found it incredible that the Russians were moving very strategically. My own sense is America has undermined the Russians, and today it is important to look at where Russia is, Abhishek, and where America is.
They have undermined themselves.
They won't lie. They've undermined themselves. Today, the Russian economy is growing at 3.6%. You look at the American economy. They said Russian economy would collapse. Shawan, Russia has been declared by the World Bank as a high-income country.
Yeah.
Right? You look at the Russian economy growing far higher than the US. Germany is growing at 0.2%. UK is in shambles. Japan is growing at under 1%, and Russia is growing at 3.2%. The American economy is facing a slowdown. There is unemployment all over America. The condition of the NATO allies is worsening. France, Germany, UK, Italy cannot see eye to eye on issues. So it's not about running anyone down. But when I heard what Sasky just said about pragmatic relations, I completely agree. I think, Shawan, Abhishek, the Russians are being very pragmatic and cool about things, and they weathered a really tough period. Abhishek, quickly from you.
Yes, absolutely. And the fact that this is a war economy, and despite that, we're looking at those pictures being sent by Sucharita since yesterday. If you look at the people, they seem to be in control. It seems like a nation in control of itself.
Does it look to you to be a country that has faced 16,500 sanctions that will so-called cripple its economy? Does that look like a country which has been crippled?
And the fact that tomorrow,
yes,
there's a strong imagery when Prime Minister Modi and President Putin will be coming together. There are 32 leaders who will be coming together in Washington, celebrating an anti-Russia military where they've not even been able to...
And let me tell you one more thing on a personal note, if I may, that on one occasion when I had the opportunity to speak to a Prime Minister more informally, we have these conversations on how his global relations are. He told me this, Sucharita, Prime Minister told me, not an interview in off record, I'm sure it's okay to say, share it. He said, how he sat down till late in the night and early in the morning with President Putin on a one-to-one interaction. So the two gentlemen get along. You may call them strongmen, you may call them anything, but they get along, and I think they can define something historic tomorrow. Yeah. Over, back to you, Sucharita. Please.
Saskia, in one of her reports, had mentioned that something big might happen tomorrow.
Yes, please go ahead. Quickly, I just wanted to say, Arnab, it's very fitting that you mentioned the UK being in shambles. I was going to say, I've lost count of how many prime ministers we've had over the last couple of years. And I was reading that the Russian economy is now growing 4.5 times faster than the British economy. And it's interesting because in recent times, partly because obviously flights have been cancelled across European airspace, we have been transiting largely through Dubai and Turkey. When you travel to these places, there's a different energy when you compare it to the EU, especially the UK and America. There's an energy. People feel energized. They want to get down to business. They want to make money. They want to be friends with people. They're moving forward. They're building faster. There's a bridge where I live in London, which, it's literally this length, and it hasn't been touched for 7 years because there's just no money. And I think the problem is Europe has a beautiful history and a beautiful legacy, but it's rested on its laurels for too long. It thought that it could always live off the nations of the global south. India knows that better than most. What the Brits did there, they're not moving forward.